Welcome to the Tudor Dixon Podcast. We have heard for so long, promises made, promises kept, and I am so proud to say that I have the United States Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, back with me today to talk about one of those promises made, promises kept. Secretary, welcome back.
Thank you, Tudor. It's a pleasure to be with you again today.
Well, I am so excited about why you're here because you have a big announcement. Just last night, you announced that you have something happening with the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm going to let you talk about it.
Well, I'm very excited and happy to announce what I think is really a landmark case and a victory for the president, for the Trump administration, because he announced, or he talked about even when he was campaigning, how unfair he thought it was that men participated in women's sports. So one of the first things he did early February when he came into office, it was to sign this executive order about men not being able to play in women's sports. And shortly thereafter, a day or two, I can say that the Office of Civil Rights here at the Department of Education took up that mantle and investigated the University of Pennsylvania. Now, that had been, on the docket, if you will, during the Biden administration, but the Biden administration didn't do anything about it. They just kind of ignored it. But we decided that this was something we absolutely should take up. This was the case, if you recall, where Riley Gaines was competing against Leah Thomas in swimming at the University of Pennsylvania and tied with Leah in their race. And Riley left without a trophy, but she competed against a man that she should have gotten. If it had been a woman, she would have been far ahead in that race. So that really became a landmark case, for discussion in the country. It's one that we focused in on with the University of Pennsylvania. And then Paula Scanlon, who also was on the swimming team, had testified before Congress, that the women on the team were actually given psychological counseling on how to change in their intimate spaces in locker rooms in front of men.
That is shocking.
That was shocking. It is clearly unfair. It flies in the face of common sense, and it is a clear violation of Title IX. And so our investigation and through our negotiations back and forth with the University of Pennsylvania, they signed the resolution, and now men will not compete in women's sports at the University of Pennsylvania. They have also agreed to send a letter of apology to the women who were on the sports teams that men played against. They've also agreed that they're going to send notification to any of the people that they deal with, contractors or whatever, that this is how the University of Pennsylvania is going to do business. So I am really very, very pleased with this outcome, and it's a great victory for women to compete against women in their sports. Women and girls fought so hard for Title IX to be able to have access to sports and to be able to have access to comparable training rooms, etc. And then to have it kind of yanked out from under them by this interpretation of Title IX was just wrong. And I'm very happy, where we are today.
Well, and Madam Secretary, I just want to say that as we saw Donald Trump building his cabinet, I knew that he had picked the right person when he put you in charge of the Department of Ed, because I knew you would be a champion for girls. I know what sports mean to you, and I know what fairness means to you. And as you were just talking about this, and you're saying these girls underwent psychological testing, I mean, really what we're talking about is a university behind the scenes that was using psychological techniques to almost brainwash these women into saying, this is acceptable. You need to accept this and put yourself aside. This is a clear violation of Title IX, and this is just the beginning. But I am so impressed that here we are, just really a few months into this administration, and you have already been able to accomplish this. This announcement, to me, is very big. I'm a mother of 4 girls. To me, this is a huge announcement coming out of the Department of Ed.
Well, it certainly is. And if Donald Trump had not been elected president, you would not see this action being taken. But as I said, he campaigned on this. He was true to his word. And when he had the signing of this executive order in the East Room in the White House, he was surrounded by girls and women of all ages. And he was very proud to assign this executive order. And I'm really pleased with the investigations that we have undertaken, and that University of Pennsylvania, hopefully this settlement and this agreement will become kind of the prototype for other universities to come on board and to make sure that they are adhering, or, we will continue investigating other universities just like we did Pennsylvania.
Is this connected to federal funding? Why have they agreed to this? Because to me, when I look at this and I say they're going to restore all records, titles, and any recognition to female athletes that were taken from them by male athletes, that is something I think all of us thought, no matter what happens, the records are permanently damaged. And how can any woman compete against the past when the past is not accurate? And yet you have accomplished this. You will restore that in this agreement. How did you get them to agree to this?
Well, certainly the big club is federal funding. And there was approximately $175 million at stake. And so now that funding, which came, from a couple of different agencies other than the Department of Education, will be restored. The predominant amount of it was from HHS. So we're happy that funding will be restored, but also we are saying we mean business, and the federal government does have the right to withhold funding if you're not in compliance, and we will not take any of those tools off the table.
I think that's something that we need to make sure people understand, because there will be criticism. Oh, this is some sort of extortion. You only get this money if you do this. This is protecting women. I mean, Title IX has been in effect since the 70s, and yet we are still here today in 2025 fighting for it. And I want to be clear. This is, if you cannot comply with law, you cannot have the taxpayers' money. Isn't that correct?
We definitely are very serious about enforcing Title IX. It is the law. And girls shouldn't have to be competing in sports in which they are afraid they're going to be hurt, or they know that it's not a level playing field. Boys are bigger and stronger and faster, and they have an unfair advantage. And also, they need to feel safe in the sports that they're competing against. Not worried, are they going to get their face smashed by volleyball, or that other things are going to be happening to them. I mean, Stephanie Turner took a knee rather than participate in her fencing competition because she was going to be competing against a boy, and she knew that was not fair, and she was afraid, and she took a knee. Women and girls should not be put in those positions. We fought so hard with Title IX, to gain access to women's sports and a fair playing field and equal, training facilities. And now to just have that kind of yanked away, where this interpretation is wrong. The courts have ruled that it's wrong, and that Title IX should be interpreted as written, that women have access to their sports facilities, et cetera, and it's based on sex.
So this is kind of a landmark agreement that you have with the University of Pennsylvania. I mean, we're even talking about they now have to accept biology-based definitions for the words male and female. To me, that is groundbreaking. And I say that knowing that 10 years ago, that would be a ridiculous statement, but that's where we are today. But I say that also knowing that this is one school of many. So how does the Department of Ed tackle the entire country that has gone woke and has taken away sports from so many women and trophies from so many women?
Well, hopefully this landmark case with the University of Pennsylvania is going to be the roadmap for other universities to follow. And they'll know we're serious because there is a fair amount of federal money for many of these universities. And if they are receiving federal funding, then they have to know that that funding can be frozen or taken away if they are not in compliance with the law.
What was it like when you were able to sit down with some of these female athletes like Riley Gaines and say, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be there alongside us when we make this announcement. Riley has fought so hard for this. I know that the other women that were there as well, Paula has also fought so hard for this. What was their reaction to this?
Well, I know that they are thrilled to know that finally action has been taken and that their messaging has not gone in vain. All of the miles they've traveled, all the interviews that they have done, all of the counseling that they have done to young women and to girls has not been in vain, and that they now have some not just wind at their back, but they certainly have been confirmed that they were on the right track and that their motives and their actions are justified.
Absolutely. So I just want to reiterate, this is a landmark agreement that we're announcing today. This is just fresh off the press, really. This is just happening. Breaking news. University of Pennsylvania will restore all records, titles, and recognitions to female athletes. They will issue a public statement that says they will comply with Title IX and that it will be specifically they won't allow men to compete in women's sports. They will also adopt biology-based definitions for the words male and female. They will rescind all guidance that violates or is inconsistent with Title IX, and they will send personalized apology letters to each female swimmer who was impacted by this. Secretary McMahon, you did this. You and President Trump, I know you will keep fighting. This is a huge moment for women across the country, but it's a huge moment for this administration. I just want to close getting your feelings on what it's like to be a part of this and stand next to the president in such an important moment.
Well, it's incredibly exciting to be able to do exactly what he said he was going to do. And I want to commend the Department of Education and our Office of Civil Rights for working so hard on this investigation and for developing this agreement with the University of Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. We cannot be more thrilled. I'm so glad that you came on today to share it with us. Thank you so much, Secretary Linda McMahon.
Thank you.
It was so nice to have Secretary Linda McMahon joining us today to share this important information. But I want to thank you all for joining us on the Tudor Dixon Podcast too. For this episode and others, go to TudorDixonPodcast.com. You can subscribe right there or go over to the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out the full video on Rumble and YouTube at Tudor Dixon. Join us next time on the Tudor Dixon Podcast. Have a blessed day.